Then after you have great coaches, you get great players. You have a great organization, and you tell them one thing.
What is good, Raider Nation? It's your boy Raider Alex back with another video. The Las Vegas Raiders have completely collapsed as a team, losing back-to-back games in which we were both favorites going into these games. The Raiders are now 2-6, and I think at this point we can just admit to ourselves that the Raiders are just a bad team in general all around. You look at an offense, on defense, coaching, despite the talent we have on this team, we just can't put it together as a unit, and as a team overall, this is a very bad football team. Because before we were hopeful as a fan base, despite their 1-4 lackluster start, us Raider fans were hopeful that the Raiders could turn it around coming off the bye week once the schedules soften up a little bit, where we're going to start facing inferior opponents, at least on paper. But after their shutout loss against the New Orleans Saints and the Raiders once again blowing a 17-point lead against the Jaguars, we can just see that this team is not built to contend in the National Football League this year. Look, in the first half against the Jaguars, this Raiders offense was effective through the air, feeding superstar wide receiver Davante Adams with 2 receiving touchdowns early in the first half. The Raiders once again had a large lead in the first half, and somehow, someway, we found to blow another lead in the second half. Look, for the Raiders to not be able to score any points in the second half is absolutely embarrassing. This just shows how incompetent this coaching staff is, that they cannot make the proper adjustments coming out of halftime to maintain such a large lead. And look, this is not the first time this has happened this season. Go back to week 2 against the Arizona Cardinals, where we blew a 20-point lead, where we were up 20-0 at halftime. Same type of situation, and we come out in the second half completely flat. We can't get anything going. In week 5 against the Chiefs, we got off to a fast start, 17-0 lead against the Chiefs. We ended up blowing that one, and now against the Jaguars, we're up 17-0 as well. Once we went up 17-0, I said to myself, you know what, I'm gonna remain calm, because just the way this team has been, I will not celebrate the victory until the game is over. And not only that, just this offense in general has been very disappointing throughout this whole season, and ultimately they have not been able to execute in crucial moments of the game, and that's where you win or lose football games. Example, week 1 against the LA Chargers, where we're down 24-19 despite all the inefficiencies on offense. At the end of the day, the offense had the ball at the end of the game to potentially win the game if you can go down and score a touchdown. We weren't able to do that. In week 2 against the Arizona Cardinals, we had the ball in overtime. We weren't able to execute. In week 3, unable to convert the 2-point conversion to tie the game, potentially send it to overtime. And in week 5 against the Kansas City Chiefs, we have the ball with under 3 minutes to go in the game, and all we need is a field goal. All we needed to do was get into field goal range. That way our kicker Daniel Carlson could win us the game against the Kansas City Chiefs. We were unable to execute. And of course, this week against the Jacksonville Jaguars, look, we got lucky. The Jacksonville Jaguars, they missed a crucial field goal, and now we have the ball down 24-20 with a chance to score a touchdown and win the game once again. Our offense is supposed to be the strength of this team, and we just have not been able to execute in those crucial situations, in those clutch situations. Look, our head coach Josh McDaniels, the guy who's supposed to be some type of offensive guru, his play calling has not been great in these crucial moments as well. Also, when you're some type of offensive guru, for him to consistently get shut out in games, get completely shut out in a whole half of football, that is very suspect, especially when this is the guy who's calling the plays on offense. And ultimately, I also got to put some blame on the leader on this offense, the quarterback position, Derek Carr. He has not been able to get it done. On the defensive side of the football too, we are also a very mediocre unit as well. When it comes to defense, we really have Max Crosby, and that's about it. This defense can't get off the field on third downs, and just in general, the offseason moves that we made to help bolster this defense have not worked out thus far. With the Raiders now being 2-6, I think it's safe to say that this season is officially over. We need to just hope that this new regime can rebuild this team for the future through the draft next year. Now, when it comes to the cap salary situation for this team moving forward, especially after paying big money to our tight end Darren Waller, a guy who has been inactive thus far this season, which is a huge problem. And also the move to acquire Chandler Jones on the opposite side of the defensive line to pair up with Max Crosby. This guy has severely underperformed, and there's really no way we can get out of that big contract with Chandler Jones in the upcoming future. So look, I think it's going to be tough for this team to rebuild through free agency. In 2023, the Raiders are projected to have approximately $32.7 million in cap space. So I guess you could say the cap salary situation is not terrible, but regardless with this team, I think the only way we can turn it around for the future is we have to start hitting on these draft picks, start building for the future. Also, with this season essentially being a complete failure and with the season essentially being over, I want to see this coaching staff give more snaps to our young players to help their development in the future. Some of these names, some of the players I want to see get more playing time would be cornerback Sam Webb, linebacker Luke Masterson, running back Zamir White. I also want to see Thayer Munford out there more at right tackle compared to Jermaine Illuminor, especially given the fact that a lot of these veterans that we brought in, like cornerback Anthony Averett, our linebacker Jayon Brown, who has not been active as well, and even when he's been out there, he has not looked good. All these veterans that we brought in, they're not living up to the hype. So at this point, why not give those snaps to our young players who will be here in the future? My expectations moving forward is we'll probably be a team that's in most of the games coming up and every week, but we will continue to struggle in these crucial situations and these crucial moments in games, and more than likely we will continue to lose games. I would not be surprised if we had a top draft pick in this year's draft. A lot of people are saying you should try to tank to get a top tier quarterback in this NFL draft. Look, I think the way this team is looking, they might not even have to tank. For whatever reason, man, this team is a bad football team. This team just finds new ways to lose games every week, and that's really been the difference. I feel like in years past, last year, you can say a lot about that football team. Last year's roster may not have been the most talented, but at the end of the day, that team found ways to win. And this roster, more talented, but this team, for whatever reason, we just find ways to lose, and that is why we're in the situation we are. We're a 2-6 football team. We can cut out the narrative that we're a team that's close, that we've been losing games so closely, and that at any moment this team can just turn it around. Look, at this point, I just hope we can at least build some type of culture and identity for this season moving forward, and hopefully we can capitalize in this year's draft. But just in reality, man, this team is terrible. This team is an absolute dumpster fire at this point. How confident am I in Josh McDaniels and whether or not he can turn this thing around in the future? Look, I'm gonna be honest, I am not very confident in Josh McDaniels at this moment, just because his play calling has diminished in the crucial situations as well. So not only are our players not stepping up to the plate in the clutch situations of the games, our coaches also, it seems like he panics at times. He's just not calling the right plays when we need him the most. And to be honest, I really question whether or not this job is too big for Josh McDaniels to handle, whether or not he's really fit to be a head coach. Look, there's been many situations of great offensive minded coaches, great offensive coordinators who that's what they are. They are great offensive coordinators, but whenever they got the chance to be a head coach, they can never get it done. Josh McDaniels could be this generation's Norv Turner, just a good offensive play caller, but being a head coach, being the leader of a football team, being a leader of 53 men is so much different than just being a play caller. And also, let's just be honest, when Josh McDaniels was with New England, he was part of that massive success, but also he had quarterback Tom Brady, arguably the greatest quarterback of all time. Also, he had head coach Bill Belichick, arguably the best head coach of all time. So I think Josh McDaniels was in a very good situation with New England. I just think he's starting to get exposed as a head coach. Now, unfortunately, owner Mark Davis has made it clear that he plans to be patient with Josh McDaniels at the head coach. And look, realistically, Josh McDaniels will probably have at least 2 to 3 years at the position before he is in serious risk to lose his job. But when it comes to this Raiders organization, something has to change, and it starts with the top. It starts with Mark Davis as well. But really, Raider Nation, there's not much we can do. All we can do is hope our general manager Dave Zeiler can hit on next year's draft and build a young competitive roster for years to come. But just in general, Raider Nation, this is such an embarrassment to this franchise. This is just such a pathetic performance. The product this football team is putting out on the field is absolutely atrocious. And not only that, what sucks about being a Raiders fan, especially with this move to Las Vegas, is you look at it, the Las Vegas Raiders are the most expensive team if you want to go watch a game at Allegiant Stadium. So not only are the prices just absolutely skyrocketing to be a Raiders fan, the performance of the football team has not gone up with it. So man, it's just a shitty situation for us Raiders fans. But Raider Nation, let me know what you guys think of this team. Let me know in the comment section down below. But with that being said, Raider Nation, that is all I have for you guys in today's video. Anybody that is new to the channel and you guys love Raiders related content like this, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. With that being said, I will see you guys in the next one.